We are now on the record. This begins videotape number 1, the deposition of Nathan Cavanaugh in the matter of the Authors Guild versus National Endowment for Humanities. And this deposition is being held at 100 Wall Street, Suite 1500, New York, New York, 10005. Today's date is January 23rd, 2026, and the time is approximately 9:41 a.m. Eastern Time. The videographer is Dylan Borsos, representing Lexitas, and the court reporter is Lisa Frolano, also representing Lexitas. Will counsel and all parties present please state their appearances and whom they represent.
John Robinson from Jacobson Lawyers Group on behalf of the American Council for Learned Societies plaintiffs. With me at council table is Kyla Snow, and I'll let my colleague from the Authors Guild introduce himself.
Dean Carnieve from Fairmont Partners on behalf of the Authors Guild plaintiffs.
Rachel Dowd from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the defendants.
Good morning, Mr. Cavanaugh.
Wait a second. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do someone swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Cavanaugh. Could you please state your full name for the record?
Nathan Cavanaugh.
And I will start the questioning today. We'll go for a few hours. When I'm done, my colleague from the Authors Guild plaintiffs will ask some questions at the end. What is your date of birth? I was going to ask about this later, but what is Special.co?
It's a technology company that I'm starting.
Oh, okay. Do you have any other email addresses?
I do.
This is the best one to reach you, that Special. Okay. Where are you currently employed?
I'm the founder and CEO of Special.
Any other employment?
No.
Any other projects you're working on?
No.
For how long have you been working on this Special.co?
We legally incorporated the company on August 8th, 2025.
And could you say a little bit more about what it's going to be?
We're acquiring traditional services businesses in the U.S. and trying to make them run more efficiently using software and AI.
Do you have employees?
We do.
How many?
2.
Have you ever been deposed before?
No.
Have you ever given testimony in court or any other context?
No.
So you understand that you're under oath today to tell the truth?
Yes.
Counsel for the government here might object. You understand that you should answer my questions, even if counsel objects?
Yes.
Let me know if you need a break at any point. I'll try to take a break every hour or so, but just let me know. If a question is pending, I'll ask you to answer the question before we take the break, but if you need a break, just let me know. Aside from this case, are you a party or witness to any other litigation at the moment?
No.
Are you familiar with the case U.S. Institute of Peace versus Jackson?
I'm not familiar with the case.
What about a case Pippinger v. Doge Services?
I'm not familiar with the case.
Okay. What did you do to prepare for this deposition today?
I met with the U.S. Attorney for about 2 hours. That's it.
When was this?
Yesterday.
Was it at their offices? Or?
Yes.
Who was there?
Rachel and her colleague, Mary Ellen.
Did you review documents in connection?
We did.
Did they help refresh your memory of the events that?
Yes.
What documents did you review?
There were many documents. How do you want me to answer this exactly?
Whatever comes to mind. What do you remember reviewing?
Emails mostly related to the case regarding NEH.
Regarding?
The National Endowment for the Humanities and the associated grants.
Okay. What else?
Mostly a list of canceled, terminated grants associated with the National Endowment for the Humanities as well.
Okay. We'll probably look at some of those lists later today, but as you're sitting here right now, do you recall which specific lists you looked at?
No, there were hundreds of grants on this list and tens of emails.
So the grants, and we'll talk about this more later, the grants terminated around April 2nd. Was the list that you looked at around that time frame, or was it earlier on? Or?
It was around that time frame, yes.
Okay. And what did you discuss about that
Objection.
list? What's the objection?
Privilege.
Are you instructing the witness not to answer?
I mean, don't answer to the extent that it would reveal communications that you and I had about your work in connection with NEH.
Can you repeat the question?
What did you discuss about those spreadsheets?
The rationale for which certain grants were terminated.
Okay. What other documents did you review?
I don't recall any others besides what I've already told you around emails with Michael McDonald and the team at NEH and the associated grants.
Okay. And what did you discuss with counsel from the United States about the rationale for terminating the grants?
Objection. I'm instructed not to answer.
Are you going to follow that?
Yeah, I refuse to answer, yeah.
Okay. You're not being represented by private counsel for purposes of today's deposition, correct?
That's right.
You understand that Ms. Dowd represents the interests of the United States. She's not your personal attorney.
I understand,
correct?
yes.
So you understand you're not in an attorney-client relationship with her today, right?
Yes.
And you understand you weren't in an attorney-client relationship with her yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. But you're still objecting on the grounds of privilege to that question. You're still refusing to answer as to what Ms. Dowd told you yesterday relating to those spreadsheets and the rationale for terminating the grants.
It's the privilege of the United States, and that is what I'm objecting based on.
And are you going to follow that instruction?
Yes.
Okay. That meeting with counsel from SDNY yesterday, that was the only meeting in preparation for this deposition.
That's right, yes.
Did you talk with anyone else about this deposition?
I talked to my teammate from the government, Justin Fox, about the deposition, but not specific details, just that it was occurring generally.
Okay. When did you speak with him?
I don't recall, maybe a few weeks ago.
Okay. And do you remember what we talked about?
Nothing substantive, just that the deposition was occurring.
Okay. Did he tell you that he was also going to be
He did.
deposed? What else did he say?
Nothing substantive, just that he was being deposed.
Okay. Did you talk to anyone else from DOGE, and we'll define that term later, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, in preparation for the deposition?
I did not.
Anyone else from the government?
No.
Okay. I want to ask you a few questions about your background. You attended college at Indiana University?
Yes.
College football fan?
No.
Okay. And you were there for 1 year?
Yes.
What did you do after that 1 year?
I started my first company in California.
And what company was that?
It was called Brainbase,
What was Brainbase?
an enterprise software company.
How long were you working at Brainbase?
About 6 years.
Can you say a little bit more about what the company did? You said enterprise.
We helped Fortune 500 brands manage their intellectual property on our software. We had about 80 employees. It was acquired by a large public company in Canada in 2022.
Okay. And what did you do after that?
I took a break from working in the tech industry for about 6 months and then helped co-found another business in the technology industry.
What was that business?
It was called Flow Finance. It was a technology-enabled accounting and finance product for small businesses.
Okay. How long were you there?
About 3 years.
How large was that company? How many employees?
About 40.
And what did you do after that?
I moved from California to Florida, took another small break in working, and then joined the Department of Government Efficiency in January of 2025.
Okay. It's a good segue. So I did want to ask you how you first got involved with the Department of Government Efficiency, which you might call DOGE today. That's okay. How did you first get involved?
I was introduced to one of the recruiters at DOGE through mutual investor connection. We had a few phone calls about my background, my interest in joining DOGE, and was subsequently offered a position informally to join in DC.
Who was the recruiter?
Steve Davis.
Okay. Who is Steve Davis?
He was a member of the Doge team.
And what's his background?
He's the CEO of The Boring Company.
Okay.
Of the what company?
The Boring Company.
And approximately when did Mr. Davis contact you?
I was introduced to Steve January 2nd of 2025, approximately.
Who introduced you to him?
A gentleman named Barish Akis,
Do you know how to spell that?
Baris Akis.
What's his background?
He runs a venture capital fund in Silicon Valley called Human Capital.
And how did you know him?
I was introduced to him through a mutual investor connection in Silicon Valley.
Who was that?
Vinay Haramath,
Could you spell that, please?
VINAYHIREMATH.
And did I hear you correctly that Mr. Davis was the recruiter, was the Doge recruiter who contacted?
He was not a recruiter for the Doge team. I was introduced to him because he was a senior Doge official, and he was the one that offered me a position on the team.
Okay. Was there a recruiter?
Barish would have been informally the recruiter.
Got it. So when Barish called you, what did he say?
We discussed my background, my interest for wanting to join Doge, standard interview questions around my background in technology, finance, etc., and then subsequently introduced me to Steve as a second interview.
Had you expressed some interest before then to anyone about wanting to join the administration or Doge?
Not the administration specifically, but Doge generally, yes.
Okay. When did you do that?
I don't recall, frankly. I've always had an interest in government and politics, so this was a natural time to join, given the focus on technology and finance.
Okay. You said that you expressed, though, that you had some interest in joining Doge.
I expressed to the Doge team that I had interest in joining.
But how did Barish know to contact you that you might be interested in this?
Because Vinay and I had a relationship, and we were talking about the Doge opportunity and that it was being formed. He recommended that I speak to Barish about potentially joining.
Got it. So did you and Vinay meet after the election and talk about this?
We did meet after the election virtually and had one phone call about my background, spoke a little bit more about why I'd be a good fit for Doge, and then he subsequently introduced me to Barish.
Do you remember what you told him in that conversation about why you were interested?
No.
Well, why were you interested? Let me just ask you that.
I was interested because I wanted to help reduce the federal deficit.
Any other reasons?
No.
You said that Mr. Davis offered you the job?
It was an informal offer. It was basically, if you're interested in joining, we will assign you a first project on the Doge team. And I said yes, and subsequently started working on a project for the Doge team.
Did he interview you? Did anyone interview you?
Barish interviewed me twice. Steve and I had a conversation, which would have been the final interview in the process, and then I subsequently joined.
What was Barish's role with Doge, if you didn't already say?
He had an informal role as a recruiter of folks from the technology industry, just given his background.
Do you know if he's employed by the government?
I don't believe so.
So aside from the individuals we've talked about so far, Mr. Davis, Barish, Vinay, is there anyone else you spoke with in or out of the government before you joined the Doge team about joining the team?
Would have been casual conversations with family. My dad, for example. Outside of that, no.
No. Did Mr. Davis or Barish tell you what you would be doing at Doge?
No.
What did they tell you about what your responsibilities would be generally?
They did not tell me.
So you just knew, what did you know about Doge at this point?
I knew that the effort of Doge was to reduce the federal deficit from $2 trillion annually to as close to zero as possible, and that was really all I was told.
Did you know anything before you started about the mechanics, about how the administration wanted to accomplish that goal?
No.
And you mentioned earlier that they assigned you, said that they would assign you to a project. Did they tell you what that project was going to be before you joined Doge?
No.
Did they mention anything specific about the National Endowment for the Humanities?
No.
Anything specific about any of the other agencies that you eventually worked at?
No.
Did you speak with Elon Musk before you joined
No.
Doge? Speak with Amy Gleason?
No.
And do you recall the date that you first formally joined the Doge team?
I started working on my first Doge-related project in early January. I moved to Washington, D.C. Around Inauguration Day, January 20th, and formally started working in person a few days after that.
What was that first project?
We were building an organizational chart of the federal government to try and understand the relationship between the different agencies and the associated hierarchy.
What was the goal of that project?
Just to help the team get a better understanding of how the federal government is set up structurally.
How long did that project take?
A few days.
And did you create that organizational chart?
I was a part of helping create it. There were multiple folks on the team.
And it was created eventually?
It was.
Is that a public document, do you know?
I believe it is. It was public on the Doge website, on doge.gov.
Okay. What was your title?
I didn't have a title.
Were you technically an employee of the General Services Administration?
I was a political appointee at GSA as a Schedule C employee.
Do you know why you were placed in the General Services Administration as opposed to somewhere else?
I don't.
But you would agree you were associated with the Doge team more broadly?
Yes.
Part of the Doge effort?
Yes.
There was also a U.S. Doge service. What was that?
It was another organization within the federal government that I think was originally created under the Obama administration, and it was subsequently retooled, rebranded to onboard some of the Doge engineers to the Doge team.
So there was like a U.S. digital service, and that became the U.S. Doge service?
I believe so.
Okay. Did you have an understanding as to how that was different from individuals at GSA elsewhere who might be helping with the Doge effort but weren't employed by the U.S. Doge service?
My understanding is that the general philosophy was to put engineers under the U.S. Doge service and then non-engineers under GSA or whichever agency they would have been the best fit for.
What about lawyers, people providing legal advice to you and others? Do you know where they were placed?
I don't.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that Justin Fox was part of the Doge team, that you worked with him. Who else from the U.S. Doge service do you recall working with while you were in the government?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Who from the U.S. Doge service do you recall working with while you were at the government?
There were several employees, engineers. Frankly, it was hard to tell which agency people were onboarded with, so you wouldn't know in conversations whether they were onboarded with GSA, for example, or the U.S. Doge Service.
Yeah.
But presumably there were many.
Let's just go through some names of individuals. So you said Justin Fox earlier.
Justin Fox was onboarded to GSA as well.
Okay, so who else?
Ethan Choutram, he, to my understanding, was also a GSA employee. James Burnham, who I believe was a lawyer with U.S. Doge Service, Justin Eminetti, and Jacob Altick.
Was Jacob Waltick's role?
Jacob Altick was an attorney for Doge.
What did he do?
He was a lawyer with the Doge team.
Okay. You said he was an intern?
He was a lawyer with the Doge team. He was not an intern.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't explain this earlier. We'll be looking at some documents today. We'll be looking at spreadsheets. Because the spreadsheets are hard to print out, we're just going to put them on the screen. So we're going to do that, and I will ask you questions about them. The first spreadsheet we're going to look at has been produced to us and was produced to us with base label US 63328. This is subject to the protective order. Can you see this? Okay, Mr. Cavanaugh?
Can you zoom in a little bit? Yeah, I can see it.
Have you seen this document before?
I've not.
Just looking at it, can you tell what it is?
It appears to be a list of Doge associated team members.
And that's what I thought too. You'll see, names, last names in column B, first names in column C. This is a tab called Detailee. So presumably these are individuals who are detailed to Doge. The first row, well, it's actually row 2. This is Justin Aminetti, you mentioned him before. Row 3, Jacob Altic, you mentioned him too. I don't see James Burnham on here. But I guess my first question for you is, did you work with anyone else on this detailee list?
Objection to form. There was a lot there that was not a question.
I'll just shorten it to that last part. Did you work with anyone else on this list besides Justin Aminetti, Jacob Altic, and Ethan Chautran? And take your time.
Are you asking at all in my time in the government or just with respect to National Endowment for the Humanities?
Let's start with at all.
I worked with Ethan Chautran.
Anyone else?
I had conversations with others on this list but didn't work with them in a formal project capacity while on Doge.
Can you provide an example of someone you had a conversation with but didn't work in a...
Luke Ferreter, Akash Boba.
What did you speak with Luke
There's
Ferreter about?
general colleague conversations, informal, not related to any specific Doge project.
I'm sorry, can you just provide a little bit more context about...
Luke and I saw each other in the hallway at GSA and would have casual conversations about how are you doing, just standard
Okay.
colleague conversations.
Anyone else?
Austin Rayner, similarly, he was a member of the Doge legal team. I didn't speak with him in a legal capacity. It was a similar, hi, how are you doing type conversation. Nothing specific to projects.
Where were these people physically working?
It was mixed. It depends on the person.
Where were you physically working?
I was physically working at GSA.
Okay. On this list, who else was physically at GSA?
Ethan Chautran, initially Kyle Shutt, occasionally Luke Ferreter and Akash Boba, and I believe that's it.
Where was Justin Aminetti physically located?
The Eisenhower building at EOP.
Okay. This is a list of, it says detailees. Do you know what that means?
I do know what a detailee is, yes.
What does it mean?
Generally means you are assigned from your home base agency, in my case GSA, to another agency within the federal government.
So how would that apply to someone like Justin Aminetti, if you know?
I don't know how it would apply to Justin Aminetti because he was a lawyer with the U.S. Doge Service. For non-lawyers, it would be you were assigned from, for example, GSA to NEH.
Okay. And let's look at the contractor tab. What does this appear to be? We could scroll up maybe to see the first row. You're good.
I don't know.
There are more names on this list. Just looking at them, did you work with any of them?
No.
Scroll down a little bit. Do you work with anyone on this
No.
list? Let's go to the other tab. Do you know any of these individuals?
Yes.
Which ones?
Anthony Armstrong, Jen Balahadia, James Burnham, Ed Korstein, Steve Davis, Marco Ellis, Cole Gaudier, Adam Ramada, Brad Smith, and Christopher Stanley.
Do you know why these individuals are listed as other as opposed to detailees or contractors?
No.
What work did you do with Anthony Armstrong?
I didn't do any work with Anthony Armstrong.
But you knew of him? You
Yes.
spoke with him?
Yes.
What was his role?
Initially, he was a senior official at OPM, Office of Personnel Management, for Doge.
And what about Jennifer Balahadia?
She was an assistant to Elon Musk.
Did you work with her?
No.
Who was the next individual on this list that you worked with?
James Burnham.
And what did you work with him on?
I didn't work with James on any specific project, but he was a senior lawyer for the Doge team.
Did you work with him in connection with the NEH?
No.
What did you work with him in connection with?
James served as an escalatory legal figure for the Doge team. He would generally get involved in projects to the extent that one of the other mid-level attorneys could not answer a question.
How often did that happen?
Infrequently.
Would you go to him then, or would one of the more junior lawyers, escalate it to him?
It would mostly be a more junior lawyer would escalate to James.
Okay. Who's the next individual on this list that you work with?
Steve Davis.
And what did you do with Mr. Davis?
Steve was effectively my manager at Doge.
You see, he was effectively your manager.
Yes.
Did he oversee your work with the NEH project specifically?
No.
Which project did he oversee?
He assigned me to work and lead the small agencies team for Doge. Beyond assigning me that responsibility, he wasn't intimately involved in my day-to-day work.
What was the small agencies team?
The small agencies team was the team at Doge that was assigned and detailed from typically GSA to small federal agencies in the government, including NEH.
Who was on that team?
Myself, Justin Fox, Ethan Choutran, and then later Marshall Wood, Jonathan Mendelson, initially Jacob Altick, although he wasn't after a couple of months, and then Justin Eminetti took his place as the new lawyer on our team.
And what was the goal of the small agencies team?
It was to identify wasteful spend within the small agencies in the federal government.
Which agencies were those?
There were about 100 small agencies on in our scope and purview, although we were mostly focused on agencies that were in executive orders, and those were the primary focus.
How often did the small agencies team meet?
Daily.
Was there a particular time of day?
No, most of the small agencies team, with the exception of Justin Eminetti, were physically present at GSA as the home base.
So you would meet at GSA every day, but the time varied.
Mostly business working hours.
And what would be discussed at these daily meetings?
It wasn't a formal daily meeting. It was you showed up to GSA for work, and the nature of our work was mostly focused on the status of projects regarding the small agencies.
Okay. We might return to that later, but I'm going to move on now. I think we can take our... No, we're still going through. So let's move past Mr. Davis. Who's the next individual on this list that you worked with?
I worked with Adam Ramada when I first joined the Doge team on the organizational chart that we referenced earlier.
Did you work with him in any other capacity?
No.
Who was the next individual?
Nobody else in a formal project capacity.
Okay, I think we can take this down then. Thank you.
Were you planning to mark that as an exhibit? I didn't catch that.
I wasn't, but
I think you should if you're gonna be asking about it.
okay, so we will mark that as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1. And just for the record, that was US 63328. It's a spreadsheet subject to the protective order. About how many other GSA employees were involved with the Doge team?
I don't know.
We've talked about a few of them. Do you think there were over 50 GSA employees working on Doge?
It was probably less than 50.
Okay, but more than 10.
More than 10.
Is there anyone else who was employed by GSA that you worked with that we haven't talked about already?
No.
Aside from the US Doge service employees we've talked about and the GSA employees affiliated with Doge, was there anyone else working as part of the Doge team?
Can you repeat the question?
Aside from the US Doge service employees that we've talked about and the GSA employees affiliated with Doge, was there anyone else working as part of the Doge team?
Yes, I'm sure there were at other agencies in the federal government.
Okay, can you provide an example?
There's a person on the list, Brad Smith, who would have worked at the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS. He was not assigned to GSA, but was, I believe, onboarded to HHS.
Was he a political appointee?
I don't know.
So there were employees of other agencies who you would consider as part of the Doge team, but were not employees of GSA, were not employees of the US Doge service.
That's right.
How did you know they were part of the Doge team?
They would have been at our weekly or bi-weekly all-hands team meeting.
Okay. How many people were at those meetings?
It varied as the year progressed. Initially, it was quite small and then grew over time.
The initial meetings that you were part, so you were part of Doge really from the beginning, right? It sounds like January 2nd.
Yes.
So that initial core group, how many people were part of it at that point?
More than 10 and less than 50.
And what about by the end?
Probably over 100 and less than 150.
And by the end, I was referring to August 2025. Is that what you understood?
Yes.
That's when you left.
Yes.
Where were these weekly meetings held?
It varied.
What were some of the locations?
Certain weeks, GSA, and other cases, the Eisenhower Building, connected to the White House.
Did people join virtually?
No.
It was all only in person.
Yes.
Who led the meetings?
Typically Steve Davis.
Were documents ever presented to you in these meetings?
No.
Did you ever take notes?
No.
Or what was discussed at the meetings?
Typically updates across various federal agencies, and then the respective leaders of each Doge team. For example, the small agencies team would provide quick updates on basically major updates with respect to their work.
So there was a small agencies team. What were some of the other teams that comprised Doge?
There weren't formal teams per se. They were mostly just related to the other large agencies. So there was a head of the Department of Commerce, for example, a head of HHS.
Was there a team focused on diversity, equity, inclusion issues?
No.
Is there any other team besides small agency teams and the agency-specific teams?
I don't believe so, no.
You said that updates would be provided. about the Doge team's work? How were those updates conveyed?
Verbally in a group.
No PowerPoint presentations?
No.
Nothing put on a screen shared?
No.
Do you know why there were no PowerPoint presentations or documents?
No.
You said Steve Davis led the meetings?
He would open up the meeting, and then each respective agency lead for Doge would provide their relevant update.
And how long did they take?
The updates or the entire meeting?
The entire meeting.
Sometimes 20 minutes, in other cases 2 hours.
Did you talk about goals for the Doge team at these meetings?
No, there were no specific stated goals other than it was broadly understood that the mission of Doge was to reduce federal spending.
Aside from the meetings, were you ever given specific goals, either as part of the small agency team or as Doge more broadly?
No.
Did Elon Musk attend these meetings?
Occasionally, yes.
About how many meetings do you think he attended?
Maybe a dozen of them.
Did he speak at these meetings?
Yes.
Do you recall what he said?
It depended on the meeting.
Let's take the first meeting, if you recall. Presumably this was your first time sitting down together with the team, talking about what you were going to do. Was he at that meeting?
He was not at the first all-hands meeting that I attended.
Was Mr. Davis?
Yes.
And what did Mr. Davis say at that meeting?
I don't recall, actually. It was probably something with respect to updates that he thought were important from other Doge team leads and was restating them first and then asked the relevant team member to provide a more substantive update.
What was the first meeting that you recall that Mr. Musk attended?
It would have been in late January, probably the first week of the administration.
And what was that meeting about?
It was a smaller group of about 20 people. Similarly, the agency team leads were providing updates. Elon was mostly listening and then would ask follow-up questions with respect to the update being provided.
Do you remember any of those questions that he had?
No.
Did you receive any training before joining the Doge team?
I went through the standard HR onboarding process for GSA employees because I was a political appointee. So in that context, yes, not specifically for Doge.
So aside from that, I'll call it HR training, no substantive training. You didn't go through any substantive training before you joined Doge?
Correct.
To your knowledge, did Doge have an organization chart?
No.
Did Doge have a structure or hierarchy? So you mentioned Steve Davis was at the top. Did he have like a deputy?
No.
Was there otherwise a structure to Doge?
The broad structure was each large agency in the federal government, starting with the Department of Defense, Department of State, Commerce, et cetera, each had a respective Doge team lead. And as the organization grew, there were basically subordinate employees working under that respective lead.
And there was a small agencies team as well that you were on?
I led the small agencies team for Doge.
Were there any other teams that you were part of?
No.
Did you report to anyone?
Not in a formal capacity. In an informal capacity, it would have been Steve Davis.
Did the other agency leads report to Mr. Davis?
I'm not sure.
And who reported to you?
Justin Fox, Ethan Choutran, and then eventually Marshall Wood and Jonathan Mendelson.
What was Amy Gleason's role in Doge?
I believe she was the head of the U.S. Doge Service.
And how did that relate with Mr. Davis's role?
I'm not sure if Steve had a title, so I don't know.
You understood that as a practical matter, Mr. Davis was the head, that she was the legal head of the U.S. Doge Service?
Objection. You can answer.
Amy Gleason was the head of the U.S. Doge Service. I don't know what Steve's title was formally.
Did she ever lead the weekly Doge meetings?
Not the ones where I was present, no.
Did you ever see her at the meetings?
A few times.
Do you know what her role was, aside from her title, what her actual responsibilities were?
I don't.
Did you get the sense that she had significant responsibilities at Doge?
I'm not sure. I didn't interface with her very much.
What was your salary at GSA?
I believe it was about $120,000 annually.
And prior to working at Doge for this administration, you had no prior government experience, right?
No.
But you said you were interested in government since NEH.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What prompted that interest?
I'm not sure what prompted the interest.
Did you go to any like summer programs or take any classes that aligned with that interest in government service?
No.
But you just had an interest in government generally?
Just specific policy topics that were topical in each election, and reading just casual information that's publicly available.
Which topics?
Foreign policy, economic policy, social issues are some of them.
What was that?
Social issues, and those are just some of the topics of which I was interested in.
Did you work on any like political campaigns before you worked in this administration?
No.
Did you ever go on like a podcast and talk about your views on these issues before joining the administration?
No.
Part of any like social groups? And where did you live, by the way, after college?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, okay. Part of any like social groups in Los Angeles where you discuss these issues
No.
with others? Did you grow up in Indiana?
I grew up in Pittsburgh.
Let's do a few more and then we'll take a break. What was your first assignment at Doge?
It was working on the organizational chart that we discussed previously.
What was your next assignment?
It was interviewing general services administration employees, specifically in engineering, product management, and design.
What did that entail?
It entailed interviewing team members within GSA across those functions.
How long did that project last?
A few weeks.
Was this in January, February?
Late January into early February.
Of 2025, I should be clear. What resulted from this project?
I believe my inputs on the interviews with employees were then provided to the head of GSA when eventual RIF plans were conducted at GSA.
What was your next project after that?
I was responsible for reviewing what are called FACAs, Federal Advisory Committees, basically, that exist within government agencies to try and figure out which ones are critical and which ones should be eliminated.
When was this?
Roughly early February of 2025.
How did you decide whether an advisory committee was should be cut or not?
Certain committees were statutorily required, and so those were not able to be cut due to statute. Others were discretionary. And so in that context, you would evaluate those committees with the relevant agency head to determine whether they were still needed or not.
You're not a lawyer,
I'm not a lawyer.
but you worked with lawyers on that.
We did.
Do you recall recommending cutting certain advisory committees?
Yes, we did.
Which ones?
When we reviewed the committees at, for example, Health and Human Services, HHS, any committee that was not statutorily required was sent to the relevant agency head and the DOJ team lead at that agency to review those for elimination.
What was your next project after that?
I was asked to lead the small agencies team for DOJ
About when was that?
about the middle of February of 2025.
And was it Mr. Davis who asked you to do that?
He asked me to review certain small agencies in the federal government with the context of there would be certain executive orders signed to reduce certain useless small agencies in the federal government.
So Mr. Davis identified specific agencies at that point.
I don't know if he defined the specific agencies. The broader context was the executive orders that were about to be signed.
He told you that you would be working on a team tasked specifically with looking at smaller federal agencies.
Yes,
But you don't recall whether he identified any specific federal agencies in
I
that
don't believe so.
conversation?
I don't believe so.
And was he the one who assigned you to that team, or did someone else assign you to the team?
The team wasn't created, so I was the first person to evaluate small agencies in the federal government for DOJ. And as that work expanded, it became a team.
But he gave you this assignment.
Yes.
Did you speak with anyone else about this assignment, aside from Mr. Davis, before it got underway?
I don't believe so.
So what agencies did you look at as part of the small teams project? Small agencies team.
The entire list or initially?
Let's start initially.
There was an executive order signed in February, which was the first, I believe it was titled Commencing the Reduction of Useless Small Agencies in the Government, something to that effect. And there were 4 or 5 small agencies on that list. The Inter-American Foundation, the U.S. African Development Foundation, the Institute of Peace, Presidio Trust. I don't recall if there were additional ones on that first executive order.
And of those, what was the first one that you looked at?
The Inter-American Foundation.
Okay. What did you do there?
We met with the head of the Inter-American Foundation and tried to understand more about the operations of the agency.
What is the Inter-American Foundation?
The Inter-American Foundation provides about $50 million annually to in grants to Central and South America.
And what did you determine about that agency?
Per the executive order, we were to reduce the Inter-American Foundation to its statutorily minimum required functions.
Which were?
By statute, I believe it was 1 or 2 employees, which included an agency head, and I believe it was a general counsel. It was basically 2 employees, is what was statutorily required, and 1 grant.
Did you cut funding to the agency?
We did.
Did you cut the grant?
We did cut multiple grants.
What was the next agency you worked at?
The U.S. African Development Foundation.
What is that?
They similarly provide grants to projects in Africa.
And what did you do in relation to the African Development Foundation?
The same thing that we did with the Inter-American Foundation.
You met with the head of the agency?
We attempted to meet with the head of the agency. Our initial request was denied, despite there being an executive order. Eventually, we did meet with the head of the agency and proceeded to reduce grants and personnel.
Did you cut the agency down to what you viewed as the bare statutory requirements?
Objection form.
You can answer.
I believe so. Yes.
Did you cut funding to the agency?
We didn't directly cut funding to the agency because that wasn't in our purview. OMB is the organization that actually cuts funding from an agency, from the federal government to the agency through federal appropriations. We cut specific outstanding grants that the agency had already made.
And did you cut specific outstanding grants at the African Development Foundation?
We did.
Objection.
Okay. I want to talk about a few more, but I know we've been going for about an hour, so maybe let's take a break and then we'll come back.
Sure.
The time is 10:31, and we're now going off the record.